Raina Mermaid. Today I'm doing my video from my phone because I'm getting the sensor cleaned on my camera. But I wanted to address today a topic that gets on my nerves a lot, and I think it gets on the nerves of a lot of professional mermaids and recreational mermaids. It is the obsession with mermaids and knees. It can range anywhere from people saying real mermaids don't have knees, your costume doesn't look real because I can see your knees, to people leaving comments on your videos telling you you can't bend your knees to swim and be a mermaid. That's not how you do it. And I think it drives us all nuts because, first of all, mermaids aren't real. Hate to break it to you. They are a mythological creature, but even the version of mermaids that you have in your head that you think is ideal is not the only version of mermaids. In my third book, I researched mermaid stories from all over the world, and they are all so different. So your one version is not the only version. There are literally thousands of different mermaid stories, and we all look different in these stories. And some of them they're wearing full-on clothes, and some of them they're not. And in the oldest mermaid story ever, she's got knees, and she wears a top. I know, it's so ridiculous. Anyway, there's no wrong way to interpret a mermaid until you start projecting your ideas onto human beings who are just trying to have fun or do a job, and you're a jerk about it. That's the wrong way to do it. So, first of all, the whole mermaids don't have knees things. Okay, if that's what you believe, unfortunately, we are human beings wearing a costume, and we have knees. We can't just make them go away. Even costumes that take into account and try to fill it in with a gap and stuff, the only way that works is in professional settings. The legs end up shrink-wrapped, the tails often extend past the feet, and these people aren't in them for hours at a time. They're filming for like brief segments. They've got safety divers on either end, and you can look at like the behind the scenes for filming of the H2O series, and oftentimes they're hanging onto a pole that is being pulled through the water. They're not even swimming. They're hanging on to something that's pulling them, okay? So that's like you can't compare that to what professional mermaids and recreational mermaids are doing, because number one, we don't have the funds for something like that, and number two, it's not safe for us to do something like that. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to deal with the fact that we have knees. And what is this whole, oh, real mermaids wouldn't have knees? Why not? Why not would they not have knees? Why do you think they wouldn't need to bend? Because some drawings show them not bending? Like, whales don't have hands, but have you x-rayed a whale's hand? It's a hand inside that fluke, okay? A lot of whales actually have leg and knee bones, even though they do not have legs or knees left over from the evolution process, you know? We have tailbones and we don't have tails, okay? So knee bones, you're gonna have to get over it and deal with it, okay? The next thing is people leaving rude or passive-aggressive comments on videos saying that mermaids shouldn't bend their knees when they swim. First of all, swimming in a silicone mermaid tail is completely different from swimming just with your legs or swimming just with your legs in a monofin. The dolphin kick that you can do with your legs or with a monofin, you are not dealing with the force that a silicone tail puts on you, and you're not dealing with the restraints that a silicone tail puts on you. You have a full range of motion when you just have your legs or a monofin, and you have nothing on you that is forcing your knees together, forcing your hips together, forcing your ankles together. And you might not think that it's not a lot of force, but it actually is a lot of force. When we did our study with Dalhousie University, you'll see there's some of the behind the scenes clips on here. This is one of the big things we realized, is just how much force is being exerted, and this is why mermaids end up with a lot of pain. And now I've been doing this for 9 years, and Hannah Fraser's been doing it for like 15, and both of us have developed hip problems because of swimming in tails constantly, because of that constant force on your hip. And from hip problems can come pelvic floor problems, so all those muscles that you use when you sit, when you do a crunch, when you need to use the bathroom, when you sneeze, and then for ladies, the muscles that help you push out a baby, like that's your pelvic floor muscle. And swimming in a mermaid tail and all this force can actually cause you to have dysfunction in your pelvic floor. So you can get foot cramps from having your toes pointed in the monofin and the force from the tail, and then you can get pelvic floor cramps, which is like having a Charlie horse in your bladder or something. It's horrible. It's horrible. And then a lot of hip pain. Hips can pop out of joints. Like, it's really horrible. And to counteract that, I see professionals. I see a chiropractor, I see a massage therapist, I see a physiotherapist, and saw a personal trainer for a while. And, like, they did measurable testing and scans and could see the problems mermaid swimming was causing in my body, and I would need to do different workouts, different stretches, different things to sort of counteract that force. So you have to understand that that is a real thing. It's not just like, oh, we slip into a tail and it's like a second skin and we're good. And the tail also creates a difference in your range of motion. It's skin tight. You'll hear a lot of mermaids say that when they try to do flips, they end up with Charlie horses in their legs because their tails are tight and their legs do not have the full range of motion, so they end up cramping up. Our feet are in there tight. That's why they cramp up, okay? So stop pretending like this is not a thing that happens. Now, in terms of bending the knees, first of all, freedivers, Olympians, people who just do the dolphin kick for fun, they still bend their knees. I know we like to pretend like they don't, but you can literally go and look on YouTube and see training videos for Michael Phelps, the American gold medalist, and you can see him bending his knees. And there are instructional videos on the dolphin kick, and you can see them bending their knees. And you can see freedivers bending their knees. And guess what? When you look at mermaid videos, a lot of us bend our knees. We bend our knees. We have to. We have to bend our knees. We have to bend our knees more in a mermaid costume than someone without, because we're trying to compensate for that stuff. Certain tails also have more buoyancy issues. So if this is my fin and my wrist up here is my head, if you have buoyancy issues with your tail, your head will go down further than your tail, and your tail, unless you put weights in it, is not going to be able to become parallel. So that's a problem that you see with me in my my orange tail. I take it out in the ocean, and it's already a floaty tail to begin with a lot of drag and a lot of buoyancy, which we tested when we were in the aquatron. But saltwater is more buoyant as well. So I have two videos, and in one video I have no weights, and you can see that while my head gets down to the bottom of the ocean, my tail is literally breaking the surface, and no matter what I do, I couldn't get it down. And then in a second video, I've got almost 10 pounds of weight in my legs and in my feet, and the tail then becomes parallel, and then I don't have to bend my knees quite as much. I can do more of that underwater worm, that dolphin kick. But when your tail is up like that, you gotta bend it to get it down. It's not gonna get down if you don't bend. And, you know, you can push yourself really hard and try not to bend your knees, but you're also putting yourself at risk, and it can be dangerous. You can end up drowning. You can end up inducing a lot of really bad cramping and pain, which did happen to me when I was doing freediving training and trying not to bend my knees. I ended up, it was the only time in my life I've ever come close to drowning, and thank God I was with a buddy, because I was in the deep end of the pool, and I was doing breath holds on my dynamics, and I was going back and forth doing the dolphin kick, and I was, you know, just trying really hard to do the worm, and all of a sudden I just got these horrible cramps that started in my feet and went all the way up my body into my hips, and it has more to do with me being a mermaid so much, so my body was so worn out when I went to go do this, and my buddy had to come get me. Could have drowned. Like I'm a floaty person. I don't need to do anything to float, and I was going under because my body was so contorted. But yeah, you can look at these videos and you can see that they have to bend their knees. Hannah Fraser bends her knees. People in movies bend their knees. They just cut it out a lot of the time so that you don't see it. Or they have a tail that goes past them and it bends where their feet are instead of where their knees are. So it's fine to try to look realistic and stuff like this, but what is realistic when you're portraying a creature that doesn't exist, is my question to you. Why do we value that? Why do we put our safety and our physical well-being behind looking real as a fake character, right? Now, there is a problem with bending knees when you're bending them too much, that you end up doing something that looks kind of like a crawl, and it's kind of like, this is you, and you're bending your knees, and instead of swimming, you're going like this. Okay, and that can definitely happen when people are learning. When I taught mermaid school, kids were doing that all the time. They're just like pulling their knees up, they're trying to swim, they're pulling their knees up and sticking them out like this, and they're not going anywhere, right? That's why I wanted to be on my bed, so I could demonstrate that to you. So I mean, definitely, that can be a problem, and that's where we want to correct them and have more of that dolphin kick movement. But even when you have a perfect dolphin kick, you're gonna have a little bit of knee bend, and it's okay. So to all those people out there who watch the mermaid videos, who are fans of videos, but you've never actually worn a silicone tail before, don't be jerks. We're out there trying to learn this craft, And some people are learning. Sometimes you're commenting on someone who's like just learning. You should see the horrible comments I get on my very first video from like 9 years ago. It was my very first swim video. It says in the comments, first time trying a mermaid tail. People are jerks. You're not going to be perfect right off the spot, okay? And so that's part of it. Part of it is just people are learning. Give them the space to learn. Don't be a jerk about it. Don't take away from their imagination and their fun by leaving comments like that. And second of all, adjust your expectations. Mermaids aren't real, but we are real, and we need to be safe, and we need to keep ourselves out of harm's way. We need to keep our bodies in good condition. And guess what? Sometimes that means we have to bend